In this episode, we're diving into a powerful moment in the Bible that changed everything for humanity. In the Garden of Eden, everything seemed perfect until one choice shifted the course of history. A seemingly simple decision led to a breakdown in humanity's relationship with God, introducing consequences that would ripple through generations. But even in the midst of that, there's a deeper lesson about temptation, shame, and redemption. As we explore this story, we'll break down why Adam and Eve's disobedience matters and how it relates to the decisions we face in our own lives. How often do we fall into temptation, believing it will lead us to something good, only to find ourselves dealing with the consequences later? And how can we learn to stop hiding from our mistakes and embrace growth instead? Stick around as we uncover these lessons and discover how the fall of man holds a key to understand the choices we make every day, and the hope we can find even when we fall short. The fall of man, understanding Adam and Eve's disobedience and its consequences. The fall in the Garden of Eden. God had given Adam and Eve everything they needed to live peacefully, but there was one rule. They must not eat the fruit from the tree in the middle of the garden. The serpent, who was more cunning than any of the animals, came to Eve and questioned God's command. He suggested that God was holding back something good from them, and that eating the fruit would make them wise, just like God. Eve, feeling tempted, took the fruit, ate it, and also gave some Adam. The moment they ate it, they realized they were naked, and for the first time they felt ashamed and tried to cover themselves with fig leaves. When God came looking for them in the garden, they hid because they were afraid. God confronted them about what they had done, and Adam blamed Eve while Eve blamed the serpent. As a result, God punished each of them. The serpent was cursed to crawl on its belly and be at odds with mankind. Eve was told that having children would be painful, and Adam was told that the ground would become harder to work, filled with thorns and thistles, and he would have to work for his food until he returned to the ground when he died. God then made clothes for them out of animal skins to cover their shame, and he sent them out of the garden to prevent them from eating from the tree of life, which would allow them to live forever. The fall is a story about how the first humans chose to disobey God, leading to consequences that affected them and the world around them. It shows the dangers of temptation and the consequences of ignoring God's guidance. God's response is both just and merciful. While he punishes them, he also provides for them, showing that even in our mistakes, he still cares for us. The story also sets the stage for the need for redemption, as humanity can no longer stay in the paradise of Eden, and the relationship between humans and God is broken. This is my interpretation. The story of the fall is about the consequences of making choices that go against what we know is right. In the garden, Eve and Adam had everything they could ever need, yet they were tempted to disobey God's simple command. The serpent's manipulation, telling them that breaking the rule would make them like God, reflects the everyday temptation to believe that doing something wrong will lead to personal gain or greater wisdom. But the truth is that when we make choices based on our desires or the influence of others, especially when it goes against our values or principles, there are often hidden consequences. The fall reminds us that actions have consequences, and even though temptation might promise benefits, it can lead to harm. Another key lesson is the idea of shame and hiding. After Adam and Eve ate the fruit, they immediately felt exposed and tried to cover themselves. This act of hiding is something many of us can relate to today. When we make mistakes or fail, it's easy to want to hide from others or avoid facing the truth. But God's call to Adam, "Where are you?" shows that God always seeks us out even when we feel ashamed. It's a reminder that no matter our mistakes, we don't need to hide from God or others. We're meant to face our shortcomings and grow from them. In our modern world, we're often faced with choices that challenge our values, just like Adam and Eve were in the garden. Whether it's peer pressure, social media influence, or even personal desires, we're constantly tempted to take shortcuts or make decisions that might give us temporary satisfaction, but lead to long-term consequences. The story teaches us to pause before acting and reflect on whether a choice aligns with our values or the bigger picture. Just like Adam and Eve, we all have moments where we could act in haste or out of temptation. Understanding the full impact of our actions and the possibility of future consequences can help us make wiser choices today. Also, in a world that thrives on appearances and perfection, many of us, like Adam and Eve, feel a need to hide when we fall short. Whether it's failing at work, in a relationship, or not living up to our own expectations, the tendency is to cover up, avoid the truth, or put on a mask. The false story encourages us to face these moments openly, admitting mistakes, learning from them, and being vulnerable with those who care about us is an important step in healing and moving forward. It's a call to stop hiding and embrace the process of growth, knowing that we are loved and valued, even in our imperfection. As you go through your day, think about the choices you're making and whether they are aligned with your true values. Are you making decisions based on temporary pleasure or the long-term good? Before taking action, take a moment to pause and think through the consequences. It might not always be easy, but making choices that align with your values will lead to more peace and fulfillment in the long run. Remember, it's not about avoiding mistakes. It's about learning from them and striving to do better. Additionally, if you're feeling the weight of failure or shame, take a moment to reflect on the fact that you don't have to hide. Adam and Eve's story shows us that God calls us to come out from hiding and face what's in front of us. If you've made a mistake, acknowledge it, learn from it, and move forward. Reach out to those who support you, whether it's friends, family, or mentors, and be open about what you're going through. Vulnerability leads to healing, and you don't have to go through life feeling isolated in your struggles. Thank you for being part of today's conversation. The story of the fall is not just about the beginning of mistakes, but also about the hope of redemption and growth. Each day is an opportunity to make better choices and embrace vulnerability rather than hiding from our failures. I hope you'll come back next time to explore more stories and lessons that are just as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. Until then, take care, make wise choices, and I look forward to having you with me again soon.